We just returned from the Nashville premiere of May We All, a new country musical. So, this just informational purposes, May We All is a musical that was written, I think, was produced by Florida Georgia Line, or at least Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line, because he was there tonight. And it is running at TPAC, which is the Tennessee Performing Arts Center, from now, June 7th, through July 17th, my birthday.
Yay.
So there's plenty of time to see it, but let's just do some quick reviews. This is an honest review, and we heard some interesting things. You said some interesting things. My one line is I feel like this is country music's version of Mamma Mia meets Sweet Home Alabama. There are literally songs, it's saying songs from Florida Georgia Line, Kenny Chesney, Miranda Lambert, Dolly Parton, Little Big Town, Old Dominion, Brooks and Dunn, Chris Stapleton, Casey Musgraves, Keith Urban, right? And many more. And just as a little background of the story, it follows this kind of wannabe singer from a small town in Tennessee, Harmony, Tennessee, who goes to Nashville to try to make it big. And she comes home, and we don't know why she comes home at first, and we won't give any spoilers away. But I think it's safe to say that the storyline is predictable.
Yeah.
Okay. But you made a really good comment about kind of the family friendly, just what were your takeaways after?
I think it was something that it's fun for the whole family. So you could, whether you're 8 to literally 80, there's nothing offensive about it. It wasn't too predictable, a Hallmark movie where it's adjacent. It's in the sense of that it's a feel good musical, and what I liked about it's Nashville. It's a nod to Nashville. It's something that feels very true to Nashville. So, but it feels very family friendly.
Yeah, let's talk more about the nod to Nashville in a second, because I think that's important. As a musician, someone who plays instruments, who looks for talent, who you've kind of produces, you were really impressed by multiple aspects of it musically. Just talk about the actors, the music, all of that.
Yeah, usually your principal actors are going to be your best singers. I felt like their bench was deep. Some of the secondary singers were sometimes better, had at least better performances. So there wasn't really a weak link. The singers are really good. The dancing was done really well. It didn't look cheesy. It felt very very Broadway. So I thought the singers were good. I thought the musicianship was really good. I thought there was a really tasteful. It's almost like what Nashville feels like if you go down Broadway. It's like the best of going down Broadway.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good way. So if you haven't been to Nashville, pretty much the scene that you see anytime anything is in Nashville, either a sporting event or an award show, they show you what's known as Lower Broad. Yeah. So that's Broadway, not to be confused with New York City's Broadway.
The real Broadway.
Broadway is where our honky tonks are. Really Broadway in between, would you say fourth, fifth to second. It's where our big arena is. So that's kind of the scene with the neon lights where everyone goes. And pretty much almost any time of day you go down there, there's literally music pouring into the streets.
And it's right next to the Ryman Theater, so the mothership. So country music was kind of birthed out of Ryman's, the Mother Church
of country music.
Yeah, so you got all musicians literally within a 3 or 4 block radius, just constant music going on. So that's what it felt like. Yeah. The musicianship.
Yeah, so Jenna and again, I'm sure this review will remain for posterity, but since this is the premiere of this musical ever, the cast, Jenna Coates is the main character. She was played by Bly Voth. We may not get those names right. She reminded me, at first I'm like, she reminds me of a Kristen Chenoweth in terms of her look, her sound. She was a good singer. I would say a little more musical theater Broadway than Nashville, but really strong. And then at the end, I'm like, she almost looked like Dove Cameron's older sister, which Dove Cameron has basically played Kristen Chenoweth's daughter, but with red hair, because that was a thing. And I think that was, part of the whatever. But Liz, who was Jenna's best friend and kind of ran the local bar, we thought she was great. Mm-hmm. I thought she was one of the best singers, played by Lauren Lolo Pritchard. Yeah,
really
you said almost like a Lauren Daigle kind
Lauren
of sound.
Daigle, Adele, she's got that raspy. It was like, it blew me away.
Good. And then the lead, I can't remember, Dustin, played by Matt Manuel, I thought was good, but not like great. And then he sang Jolene in Act 2. And I have chills literally thinking about it. Like, it was strong.
It's not often that you have a very gender specific song that, and you were lost in his performance. Because Jolene's about a woman talking to another woman, taking her man. You didn't think of any. It wasn't bizarre. It was like his performance was so compelling that it transformed you or transported you.
Yeah. Okay. My favorite character was Wilbur.
He was fun.
What was that played by? Noah Pelty, maybe. My favorite. He was just funny. It was like not even dad jokes. It was just like every kind of like misunderstood pun wrapped into one character.
If we're kind of referencing other movies, he was Mater.
Yeah.
He's like definitely the Mater in
Cards. That's good. So all that to say, I mean, the band was on stage. There was, the musical director was on keys, drummer. There was a fiddle player. Two guitar players.
A bass player.
Okay. So it was just it was very organic from a scene. It was in the smaller theater. If you've ever been to TPAC, there's the Andrew Jackson Hall. This was in the James Polk Theater, which is a smaller theater. So there really wasn't a bad seat in the house. Tickets start at $30, so it's just a fun night out. But they did, multiple scene changes, even with the smaller theater that kind of transported you. You said maybe too many scene changes, but it was done well, done quickly. And the vibe, I just kind of listen. I like to listen to people as they were leaving because if you remember, the last review I did was for the Oklahoma revival. And there were people leaving in droves at intermission. And everyone leaving at the end of that was like confused and kind of angsty, for lack of a better word. The vibe walking out of the theater tonight was fun. It was upbeat. People were smiling. People were laughing. It was a good time.
Well, we've done a few of these this year, and usually when you leave, people are, they're recycling their playbill. I saw people asking for a playbill. That gives you a sign of it was so inspiring. People want to take a piece of the performance home with them.
And we got the last one because someone may or may not have wrinkled the ones that we got. So I was looking for a fresh one. We literally got like the last.
Whoever
that was. Yeah. But I do want to say, one of the other things we talked about. So all that to say, I think it's definitely worth your time and money. It's a good night out. The writing itself at times was like a little cringy, if I could say. Predictable isn't even the word. It was just like, you could have probably put a little more thought into some of the dialogue. You made a good point where we said it was very much like Mamma Mia, where it was wrapped around how do we say it? Like this. So your favorite country songs were put into this, but they weren't woven into the dialogue. They were kind of like inserted in, and it made sense, but it wasn't woven as intricately or delicately as maybe one would say, masterfully, as like a Mamma Mia. And then it had that element of the Sweet Home Alabama, where, like I said, this girl coming back to her roots and all the good friends, and the high school football and the church and, all of those things that fit in. But back to what I was saying about listening as we were leaving, there were people that said, like, it was fun. It was a good time. There was one couple that I saw outside of the theater, and I just said, hey, what did you all think about it? Because they seemed really animated. And she said, I love Florida-Georgia line. So we're actually from Georgia. My husband bought me tickets to be here tonight. She goes, I cried several times. It was fantastic. So, and I think she was excited that she saw Brian Kelly in the theater. But that was kind of the vibe. I even heard someone coming out saying, like, I want to see that again. And the reason why that's interesting, I don't think we mentioned this yet, what's unique about this is that there's a character called Bailey Stone. I feel like we're giving away, like, we're not giving away the juice. Like, this is known. But basically, I'm not going to say every night because I don't think it's every night. And I'm going to put this on SamiCone.com. But almost every night, in the second to last number, a Nashville recording artist or a country recording artist is going to switch out into the role of Bailey Stone. So it could be tonight it was Low Cash. I know Ray Lynn is coming out. Lindsay L is coming out. There's a bunch of, so it could be a guy, it could be a girl, it could be a duo. But it's an interesting where, again, I won't tell you how or why, but so really the show will be different every night.
It's like watching an old Clue movie where it had different endings to it. So each performance you go to, it won't be the same because you're going to have a different ending or different, literally a different ending to it. So that's exciting. Yeah,
so that's something that's, again, that we get to do here in Nashville. And I think you were saying how it is a nod to Nashville. Like it really is. The other thing to me is that it's almost like the Grand Ole Opry. I always tell people, if you come to Nashville, go to the Grand Ole Opry, which is not in the Ryman Auditorium anymore. It's at the Grand Ole Opry House over by Opryland. But even if you don't love country music, typically you'll see like 6 or 7 different acts that do 3 songs a piece, and then they're done. It's really fast moving, and you'll see bluegrass, and you'll see, someone that's really on the top 40 charts, and you'll see an up-and-coming artist, and you'll see instrumentalists. But it gives you such a flavor of Nashville, and I felt like that's what this did really well.
One thing I don't think we mentioned either was, it's important to you and I, but the diversity was really done well. So the main character, the 2 main characters are an interracial couple, and it's just the way that's done is just great. I think the fact of just how it really is not just nodding to what Nashville is, but what Nashville was, but what Nashville is and becoming. So if you look at like the top charts now, you have a Jimmy Allen, Kane Brown, you've got Mickey. It's got a lot of diversity. I felt like that's something that seemed like it was important to the makers and the creators to make a Nashville nod. That's where we're going.
Black and white. I did notice. I mean, the musical director seemed to be Asian. An Asian male. I didn't notice any Latina or a lot of other Asians. So there wasn't like across the board, but of course there were there were maybe 12 characters. Right. It's not like we were talking about a cast of 20 or 30. Right. So for what it was, I think it was one of the most, especially considering this is a small southern town.
Correct.
It could have been easy to just be really homogenous. Thank you for saying that. So I think, like I said, if you love country music, you're going to love it. I can't see you not loving it because it really spanned the decades of some of the top songs. Even if you don't love country music, I don't think you need to love it. Like, I think it's still a good time. And
they did a John Denver song.
They did do a John Denver. They did Soggy Bottom Boys. They did.
It was great.
It was literally. A little bit of everything, truly. So, this was a little longer than we wanted to go, but really.
It's my fault.
No. I think it's important to cover because literally no one has seen this yet, so there's nothing else to go on. So, we wanted to cover the gamut. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. But all in all, I don't even know if this is going anywhere from here.
I think it's going to. I don't, but it just, when you watch certain things, like you see movies or songs, this has the it factor that if they tighten up a few things, it's got all the elements. It just feels good. It just feels really positive, uplifting, and so who knows.
I think the fact that people are already traveling here, and it was not a sold-out theater, which I was surprised, considering the amount of people that were local in the cast. I noticed reading through some of the cast bios, there were a lot of, if not Nashville, Tennessee locals that were in the cast. So I was kind of surprised it wasn't sold out. But you do get the feeling like this is something, it almost felt, honestly, it almost felt a little bit like a Vegas residency. Like this could live on in different iterations for a long time. I don't know how well it would do like as a traveling show necessarily, because then you would also lose the element at the end with the, country stars coming in. But this could do well here for a really long time, I felt like. Feel good?
Well, I think it feels good,
Okay, so there you have it. TPAC.org, I believe. Yep, TPAC.org is where you can go to get more information, ticket info. And, of course, you can find this at SamiCone.com, and we'll be bringing you more reviews on further shows. Sami and Otto, signing out.